All right, let's talk about a classic medical paradox that is absolutely critical for every single clinician to understand. We're talking about the very strange case of D5W, or 5% dextrose in water. On the surface, it seems simple. It's basically just sugar water, but it has this kind of dual identity that can have huge consequences for your patients.
So let's just jump right into the big question, the main puzzle here. How on earth is it possible for one IV fluid to be one thing when it's hanging on the IV pole, and then a completely different thing the very second it hits the bloodstream? And listen, this isn't just some fun trivia. Knowing this is a really big deal in clinical practice. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. In the bag, D5W is what we call an isotonic solution, but once you infuse it into a person, it acts like a hypotonic solution. So let's break down exactly how this transformation happens, and more importantly, why it happens. Okay, first things first, let's look at the fluid in its original state. Exactly how it comes from the pharmacy, hanging up there in the IV bag. At this point, it's classified as isotonic.
So why do we call it isotonic to begin with? Well, it's all about concentration. The concentration of the solute, in this case the dextrose, is really similar to the concentration of our own blood plasma. That means on paper, it shouldn't cause any big shifts of water in or out of our cells. It should just kind of hang out.
And here's the number that backs it all up. Its osmolality is right around 278. And that number? It's right in the sweet spot, squarely in the isotonic range, perfectly matching our blood. So just looking at it in the bag, everything seems fine. Everything checks out. But that's really only half the story.
Okay, now for the twist. This is where the magic, or, well, the metabolism, really happens. The second D5W starts flowing into the bloodstream, everything about it begins to change, and it changes fast.
This process you see here, this is the entire key to the paradox. As soon as that fluid hits the veins, the body cells look at that dextrose and think, ooh, energy. They immediately start pulling that sugar out of the fluid and using it up. So the dextrose, which was the only thing making the solution isotonic, just vanishes. And what are you left with? Just plain old free water.
And this is the result. That leftover free water is now, by definition, a hypotonic solution. It has way fewer solids in it than the inside of our cells do. And you know what happens next, right? Basic osmosis. Water is going to move from the area of low concentration, the bloodstream, into the area of high concentration, which is inside the cells.
So why does this matter so much? I mean, who cares if a little water shifts around? Well, this isn't just some neat biology trick. This has massive, and I mean massive, clinical implications. And getting this wrong can be really dangerous. Here's the bottom line. That water rushing in makes cells swell. Now, in some parts of the body, that might not be a huge deal. But in the brain, it's a potential disaster. This is why you have to avoid D5W in any patient with a head injury, with increased intracranial pressure, or anyone at risk for cerebral edema. The absolute last thing you want is to make their brain cells swell up even more.
And let me be perfectly clear about this. Because all that water leaves the bloodstream and rushes into the cells, D5W does not stay in the blood vessels to increase volume. So if you've got a hypotensive patient, someone whose blood pressure is in the tank, and they need fluids to bring it up, D5W is the wrong choice. It's just not going to do the job.
Okay, that was a lot, I know. We've gone through the science, we've gone through the dangers. So now let's just boil it all down and lock this concept in with one simple idea that'll help you remember it forever. This one little phrase ties absolutely everything together, and it's the key to keeping your patients safe when you're thinking about fluids.
And there it is. Seriously, if you remember nothing else from this, remember this sentence. D5W is isotonic in the bag, but it becomes hypotonic in the body because the sugar disappears. It's really that simple. That metabolic shift is the trigger for everything else we've talked about.
This whole D5W paradox is such a great reminder that in medicine, even the most basic, everyday things can have these hidden layers of complexity. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other simple things that we use every day have a hidden clinical story just waiting for us to uncover?